Sorry.
So then I think it was actually you and I when we were in New York, we're talking about this, and I want to say you kind of coined this term about the fog of more, and I think that that's really where we're at with all this stuff is more is more is more. A so prescriptively, do you think agentic and NHI is just an inherent risk? Is it a benefit? Like how strategically should people think about this stuff? Because everywhere I look, someone's doing some agentic something.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it might sound a bit harsh, but my firm belief is that we should consider agents today in the same manner like we consider insider threats. And the reason is because they're really, and it goes back, by the way, back to zero trust, right? They're digital employees, right? They're virtual workforce, right? That we already have. It's not in the future. And obviously they're tasked to write emails on our behalf, transfer money, halt production, change code. There's, stories all around Reddit about code freeze that wasn't really code freeze and data got deleted and stuff like that. Obviously not a lot of emotions when you ask the agent, why did he do what he did, right? So really treating these new employees, if you like, right, that are actually performing actions in at least a semi-autonomous way, um, really goes down to monitoring the activity, understanding the permissions, making sure that it's governed, and we know what to expect, and we know when things go stray. And it's such a new technology where the truth is, even the vendor who created the service, right, is not 100% sure how the agent is going to behave in any scenario. So really monitoring this in a similar way, like we would monitor, right, employees potentially, I think is a good aspect. But going down to what you asked, I think it's a necessity. Obviously, I think we're all, enjoying and benefiting from this technology. The question is, how do we enable this, right, in a responsible manner? And that's kind of the whole premise, right? And our really kind of a grand vision at Asterix was always to enable the latest and greatest adoption. Obviously, these days it's not there's an app for that. These days there's an agent for that. So like the terminology changed, but the challenge, right, just became a bit more challenging and more complex and more pressing, right? And again, the productivity just boosted outside of the roof.
So agentic stuff, I love the kind of referencing insider threat because that's how I think about it. And then I mean, if you think about me, like I'm one potential employee, I could potentially create hundreds of risky or insider threat things because you can create an agent for anything. Like I'm working on some by the breach stuff and I've built a little bot that does things and whatever else. And I mean, it took me, I don't know, I'm a really shitty coder, by the way. It took me like, I don't know, 30 minutes to build this thing. And then I'm out there doing stuff with it. And, you could have one for travel. You could have one for making sure your kids do their chores or digitally, whatever, all that stuff. So the scope and scale is probably the real issue here. And that's why this can't be done with Ricky the intern and a spreadsheet, right? You have to have technology for this problem.
Absolutely. And more so, the regular technology and regular processes that this technology, enables, really doesn't scale, right? So if we do access reviews, okay, you cannot do manual access reviews for millions of agents, right? We're going to have fleets of them. And how do you onboard and offboard, right, an agent? It just doesn't scale. It doesn't really go along with the processes that we used to have for enterprises, for identity solutions that are focused on humans, right? Not to talk about the technology stack, the protocols, right? The types of vulnerabilities, the types of behaviors that are, really kind of all different in any aspect, like looking at actually how does the enterprise manage, right? The life cycle management of these digital employees. Very, very different for sure. Another very interesting aspect, related to what you just said, is the concept of ownership. There's a lot of different models, right? There's a model of owning a pet. Okay, so basically, you can't have a stray dog. Like someone has to own it, and you need to tag it, and you have, accountability and responsibility on, that. And another model is a car, right? So who owns the car? And then when it comes to these agents, right? Well, if the agent really halts production, can you sue it? It's not a legal entity, right? Is the agent to blame? Do you fire the agent, right? So making sure that every non-human identity, obviously every agent, right, has an owner is something that we've been doing, with the largest enterprises in the world for years now, and it really scales very good, right?